this job is going to take everything from you. It's going to take and take and take, and you're going to gladly give and give and give. You go from being in the best shape of your life and one of the most elite operators in the world to not being able to tie your shoe. I just hid it. I stuffed it down. People look at you as a pillar and as an unshakable pillar. We dislike the messenger more than the guy who's lying about it. What they're more upset about is that I tore down another veteran. That's a bold maneuver to sue me, because all those people that were there that didn't want to be public, well, now they're going to be dragged into it, and now they're going to say with their hand on the Bible in court the truth. I'm not concerned about it one bit.
My voice in today's episode is powered by 11 Labs. Today's conversation is with Brent Tucker. Brent served as a Green Beret and later served in Delta Force, with years spent in some of the most demanding places in the world. After being wounded and medically retired, his life did not get simpler. He began training SWAT teams, built businesses to support first responders, entered the public world of veteran media, and found himself in the middle of hard questions about truth, loyalty, secrecy, and accountability. This is not a conversation about war stories for their own sake. It is about what a life of high-stakes decisions does to a person, what happens when the uniform comes off, and what it costs to tell the truth as you understand it. Brent, welcome.
Thanks a lot, Tim. I really appreciate the invite. I've actually cut down on the podcast that I've been going to lately, but when I got you guys' invite, I was like, well, I got to go do this one.
Now we got to live up to it.
That's not a concern of mine at all.
Brent, your injuries eventually forced you into medical retirement. Can you describe what happened and what that first moment was like when you realized the life you knew was over?
Well, when I was shot in Afghanistan, it's kind of hard. It's almost hard to describe because it's almost surreal. All of my other teammates had been wounded, and I'd seen a lot of friends get wounded. I was pretty deep into my career. So when it happened, it really wasn't that much of a shock to me. It was more of a, dang it, I knew this was going to happen one day. I was just hoping it wasn't going to be tonight. The recovery process was extensive. It nearly broke my forearm in half. The bullet went right through the bone in my forearm, and they had to reconstruct that. I was actually able to go back to a team for a few more years, but I called it the new 100%. I was never going to be back. It was just never going to be the same. There's just things you're going to have to live with, things you're going to have to do different. But I was proud that I went back and I performed at a high level on a Delta Force team after that. But at some point, the injuries mounted up, and it became too much, and I was medically retired, both from the gunshot wound and the TBIs. Once I'm getting medically retired and the life that I knew was over, I'd served in the Delta Force for a decade. All I had known was war for almost 2 decades. There was a part of me that felt a little bit of a completeness to my career. I'd been to war in Iraq, Afghanistan, and then Syria, all multiple times, and other places around the world. And so a part of me thought I'd almost fulfilled, like I had done enough. And there was another part of me that I'm sure, Tim, you'll understand, is that when you feel like you have a job that's important, and you want to feel that adrenaline rush one more time, it never really feels completed. There's always that one more time, like get on a helicopter one more time. That's all I want, just one more time, but one more time is never enough. So it was really conflicting to be honest with you, about the end of my career and how I felt.
After retirement, you began training SWAT teams, often for free. What did that work give you that retirement could not?
Funny story, as I'm retiring, one of my Delta Force buddies was going to go train a SWAT team that asked him to help them with some night vision training. And they had more SWAT team members than one person could or should train. So he asked me to come along. So I said I would. So we were driving down from North Carolina to Florida. And during the car ride, I looked over at him and I was like, well, how much does this pay? And he goes, oh, we're not getting paid for this. We're just driving down there for a couple of days and doing this for free. And I thought, man, I probably should have asked that question before I got in this car. But it's too late. We're heading south on 95. And after I got done training them, it was awesome. It almost felt like it gave me some sort of purpose, that I have all this knowledge that's pretty useless, doesn't really carry over. Hunting of men doesn't carry over to a lot of different professions, but it does to SWAT teams. And so after I did that, I really thought I was going to maybe start a business as like a training company. But as the probably almost 2 years followed, I continued to train SWAT teams, sometimes for free, sometimes they paid me. And that's really what put me on the road to start First Responder Coffee Company, which turned into First Responder Cigar Company, which also became First Responder Cast Company, all three different companies under FRCC. Now, no one has to have a lack of resources to be an excuse of why they're not getting top level training. We use that company to train SWAT teams for free.
When you first got to Special Forces, was there a moment when you thought, I may not be good enough for this? In football, we call those welcome to the NFL moments.
When I first got to Special Forces as a Green Beret, sure, like early on in the training, I questioned myself because my pedigree wasn't as illustrious as some other people's that were there, that came from Ranger Battalion or the 82nd Airborne Division or the 101st Airborne Division. I was a National Guard guy with an air defense background. It's not your normal feeder unit into the Green Berets. But I also think that was a good thing, because it motivated me to have something to prove, to say, yes, even though I know I didn't come from a traditional background, I do belong here. You always have a little bit of imposter syndrome, I think, to some degree, but I think it's a good thing. I think you should have a little bit of that to force yourself to show up and prove yourself wrong. Because I think when it comes to high performers, we don't need critics telling us what we can do better. We don't need critics to point things out. We're really, for the most part, we're our own worst enemy, and no one will critique us harder than we will. But even that, I've seen that go too far, and you can crush yourself. So there's a balance there. But I absolutely had that. But I think I had a healthy amount of that just pushed me to go further than I normally would have.
How about that welcome to the NFL moment? Did you have a moment when you were there and you were just like, holy crap, I don't know if this is for me?
So I never had I don't know if this is for me moment, but on my very first trip to Afghanistan, one of my very first missions was a hairy one, to say the least. It was a daytime raid, which we don't normally do daytime raids. We own the night. We use our technology to our advantage. We're not looking for a fair fight, but this target was just too juicy with too many bad guys, and we knew they were going to be there during the day, so they launched us on a daytime raid, and that it seemed like that whole village opened up on us. It seemed like every house had a machine gun at it, and it was all pointed towards us. And that was definitely what I'll call a welcome to Special Forces moment. And it was just hectic there. We had Apache helicopters, flying around trying to suppress everything. It was almost movie-like. It was just absolutely chaotic, but I loved it. Like I got back from that mission thinking that's what I thought combat was. That's what I signed up for. I signed up for 9/11. I signed up to go to combat. We put it to the bad guys that day, and that's what I showed up for. And the truth is, if you're close enough to bad guys to kill them, they are close enough to you to kill you, and that is just something you have to accept. Um, that happening really early on in my first deployment, though, also gave me a little bit of a false, I won't say false hope that I'm not saying I hoped every mission would be like that, but it was definitely exciting. But it was definitely one of the bigger missions of that trip, and not every mission is like that. In fact, if we do our job right, we'll be in and we'll be out before most people even know we're there. But that was definitely a welcome to Special Forces moment, to say the least.
Long before Special Forces, your father shaped your work ethic. What did he teach you that you did not fully understand until later?
That's a good question. I think one of the phrases he's told me that I've used later on in life, and it really has to do more with business dealings, but it's that the only people who could take advantage of you are the people you let take advantage of you. And he told me that pretty early in life, and it definitely has become more more true the older I get.
In your first serious gunfight, what did you learn about yourself that training could not show you?
Here's the truth about training. Doesn't matter what the level of training is, you have a higher percentage of success. You can be exposed to stress and high stress as much as you want during training. There is no replacement for live bullets and life and death. And how people act during training, some people may act 10 feet tall. It doesn't mean at the end of the day that's exactly how you're going to act when it's serious. And so, yeah, I don't think I went back and thought this. I mean, when you ask me questions like this, I look at it, more in hindsight, that I was proud of myself that I didn't I didn't second guess things. I didn't hesitate. I did do what I was trained to do, and everybody did that day. Um, but the longer I went on in special operations and even combat, there are moments where that's not necessarily true of everyone, and that's just a reality of it. You don't really know how you're going to act until you're facing death, and there's no way training can ever replicate that.
I know this was a hard time for you, but I'm curious. After the AK round, grenade blast, brain injury, and nerve damage, what was the hardest normal thing to do again?
It probably took a full year, for me to do most things again. Now, thankfully, I still had my left hand, but it's really weird what'll break a grown man down. I'm not a very emotional man. I didn't When I got shot, I was more disappointed in myself for putting myself in that position, and I second guessed myself a lot and thought that I could do things better. So it was just a lot of self critique. But at the end of the day, all of that was the only thing I could think of was getting better and getting back in the fight and proving that and making up for it. Although no one ever positioned it that the argument like that, like that's just me doing it to myself. So oddly enough, it really didn't have the tough times didn't have anything to do with being shot and surgery after surgery after surgery. It had to do with not being able to dress yourself, and always having someone else come up and dress you and put your shirt on and button your pants for you. And, uh, it's a really weird story, when you think about how bad that night was and how bad some of the recovery was and how bad the physical therapy was. Um, One day I was just trying to put my shoes on to go out, and I couldn't tie my own shoes, and for whatever reason, it broke me, and I was like, I don't know how to explain it. You just go from being what um, just real ironic telling you this, Tim. So I think you one of the few people that can understand it and understand it to a level that I could never understand it. But you go from being in the best shape of your life and one of the most elite operators in the world to not being able to tie your shoe. And I just remember just breaking down and crying because I couldn't put my shoe on. So I don't know why that's what did it, but that's what did it. I found out some other really hard truths. I'm not good at brushing my teeth with my left hand. I know that sounds weird, but go brush your teeth with your left hand. It's the weirdest feeling in the world if you're right-handed. And it's a little bit detailed, but you can't wipe yourself correctly with your left hand. You just find out that everything is hard. You can't eat steak because I can't even. You have to have someone else cut up your steak for you like a kid. Like those are the things that just slowly just ground me down to nothing until I could finally do things for myself again.
During recovery, who saw the version of you that you did not want other people to see?
I for the most part, and people will say that this isn't a good thing. Well, maybe it's not a good thing for them, but this is how I deal with things. Uh, I just hid it. I stuffed it down. Um, when you're the when you have kids and a wife and you have other teammates, it's just my personal opinion. I don't I It's just me. I don't think being vulnerable is a good thing. I think people look at you as a pillar and as an unshakable pillar. And when things go wrong in their life, they're going to come look at you and be like, this he can handle it. And so I never wanted to show weakness, and it was something. And I'm not saying again. I cried not putting my shoes on, but that was in a closet for me, and then it's time to deal with that and walk out of that closet and say, hey, there's nothing I can't deal with. Like bad times only last for so long. Like I can handle this. This is not bigger than me, and that was important to me. So in a weird way, I think the only person who saw that weak side of me was me, and I took that same mentality to the PTSD outlook of it, if you will, and like how do you deal with PTSD? And I said I don't have PTSD because I refuse to accept that having a couple bad nights and at work is going to define and shape the rest of my life. I refuse to let it happen. And I've had uh, psychologists, which I had to see a psychologist getting medically retired, tell me that was the absolute worst thing in the world and a ticking time bomb. But my argument to that is that I'm 46 now and I'm doing okay, and maybe they should do what I do. Maybe because we don't have really good results in the veteran community of doing it the way that they say to do it. So that's Brent Tucker's 2 cents, but that's my answer.
I was just reading this thing. We had a guest come on and recommended a book. I'm early on. It's in chapter one, so I'm not getting too many bonus points here. But they're talking about they're talking about how like the smoking industry when it started, how everyone was smoking. Kids started smoking, then they found out it was how bad it was, and then they forced tobacco companies to make advertisements against kids, specifically against kids smoking, and actually kids smoking went up because kids like, and they're like, all right, we clearly are doing something wrong. Something's got to change. Could that same analogy be brought to PTSD? Like, is it at the point where the numbers are bad enough, or what you're seeing in the field from friends or former teammates, or however you want to look at it, that You feel like we got to almost restart that whole process?
Absolutely, absolutely. For it just blows my mind. I I don't think I'm a dumb man, but I don't proclaim to be the smartest man in any room I've ever walked into. But even I can recognize this. If this is the problem and this is the cure we're giving it, and the medicine gets no results. In fact, if you really holistically look at it, the medicine that we're giving it is getting worse results. If this was in any other practice, they would take a step back and say, hey, this isn't the right medicine for this. We're not getting the results that we need to. So when you look at it, I think through that lens, I think everyone should agree that we're not doing it right. Let's stop. Let's take a step back. I'm not saying the way I do it is right for everybody. I'm saying the way I do it is right for me. But holistically, I think we need to reset it and look at different options, because this is not working. And it's insanity for us to keep on saying, hey, let's do exposure therapy. Let's do this. Let's make men really vulnerable and see if that makes them better. I just, I, the numbers are telling me that I'm right.
And do you think that there's a reason why it's more? I'm not saying it's worse today because we just don't know if it was maybe it was underreported before, but it's more prevalent today than it used to be. Is that something that's happening in, in combat and warfare and military, or do you think it's just reporting?
I think it's a little bit of both. But again, like here's my question. We lost, almost 60,000 people in Vietnam. Uh, the numbers off the top of my head are going to be a little off, but really close. We've lost about 10,000 people in the GWAT, yet our PTSD numbers are absolutely through the roof. So, how did we see less action during the GWAT, yet what seems to be all of our soldiers are coming home with mental issues and aren't strong enough to deal with war. People may not like the way I just phrased that, just but I'm not wrong by saying, sure, I probably could have phrased it better, but that is that is the that is one way to describe it. So one of the many issues that we're having, and I can say this because I lived through it and I was in the community, but it's almost uh, a generational issue. And I'll start out with this. We live in a weird time where if there's not something wrong with you, then what's wrong with you? Everyone's proud to have something wrong with them, whether it be ADHD, whether it be um, Asperger's. It just seems like everyone wants to have something wrong with them. They're depressed and they're on antidepressants, and the military's no different. It's almost, if you don't have PTSD and if there's not something wrong with you, well, then you didn't see combat. There's almost that amount of pressure from the inside. And then when you leave combat with good intent, you have these psychologists and mental health professionals that are telling you as you're leaving combat, hey, you guys were just at war. You saw some bad things. You're going to have PTSD. It's only a matter of time. If you tell a man long enough, you're you can't handle this, there's they're going to start to believe you. So, and then the third part of it, again, it may be unpopular, but I'm not wrong. The VA and the military through retirement um, has financially incentivized PTSD through disability. And so you will get paid the rest of your life to say that you have it. So this what I just said is going to upset some listeners with some hard truths, but I stand by it. And just to clarify it real quick, sorry, I'm not saying no one has it. That'd be a ridiculous statement to have. But that's why I'm so adamant about saying the things I'm saying, because I do know some people have it. And I do know some people had a bad day that was so bad that they can't handle it. And that's okay. Everyone's different. Everyone saw different things. Everyone handles it differently. So for those people who have it, I would give them all the resources in the world to make sure that they are better. But if everybody has their hand out and our resources are finite, you're going to start to steal from the people who really need the resources. And that I have a problem with.
Do you think I guess, why is the medical professional, why are they saying like you are going to have it? Are they incentivized? Do they get something out of it? Or do you think it's just they're trying to get ahead of it? I mean, why are they saying that?
The VA is financially incentivized to have sick soldiers. And that is just the truth. The VA goes back every year asking for more money. Is that there's a couple different ways to look at it. And so since I don't know truly their intent, I can't speak to say that they really want that. So that would be up to, them to be able to answer that question if they were to ever answer that question honestly. And I'm not much a conspiracy theory guy. I'm really not. But when it comes to a few things, when you add up enough facts, it makes me look at it and go, it's at least an option to at least think that way. And I don't, I'm having a hard time defending it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's obvious that what you're saying, if somebody really does have it, and if everybody's claiming it, it kind of dilutes not only the resources, but even how seriously people take it, right? If
Right.
somebody says they have
Right.
PTSD, maybe 10 years ago, it meant something different than it does today, even though, yeah. I mean, I'm in no position to talk about it, but I hear what you're saying is the point. You're not saying people with PTSD aren't whatever tough or didn't see combat or anything like that. You're just saying you're actually trying to help those people, the more extreme
Exactly.
case.
And I've talked about this before, and it'll be in the comments section where people either didn't hear my whole argument or they got so mad at the beginning of my argument they didn't listen to the second half. Yeah, you summed it up correctly. I'm not I'm not saying it's not there. It's not something we should be helping out with. In fact, I'm so I'm so for those people. That's why we have to do something to delineate the people who are mooching from the system for personal financial gain. And that's what they're doing. It's
Okay.
gotten to a point we have people claiming PTSD that didn't even see combat. Just because they heard combat on the radio, they're saying, hey, I can't function anymore because I heard combat on the radio. At some point, I don't know where necessarily to draw the line, because that is subjective, and that's going to be really hard. But there are some cases that are pretty straightforward. If you heard it on the radio, you're going to have to suck that one up. If a mortar landed on the other side of your base and you didn't even know it happened, but you heard the report that it happened, and now you can't live the rest of your life without the VA paying you extra money is somehow going to help you, we can we can filter through those pretty quick. And those aren't just random ones I pulled out. Like those are actual events. And there's a lot more that came from.
If you had a magic wand and someone said, "Hey, you get to one thing to fix this problem," what would you do?
I'd get a group of guys smarter than me and start roundtabling this with a fresh set of eyes and discussion to it. That's what I would do. I know it's a little bit of a cop out, but that's but I I I already told you I wasn't the smartest guy. I'm just not the dumbest. So I
You,
would
you
I
didn't
would I
you didn't wish for more wishes either, so you're good.
You have been very direct about tactics that you think got people hurt. When did you first see something accepted by everyone and think, this is wrong?
react to ambushes and pushing off the X immediately. That is a tactic that is wrong. And I understand why people do it. And let me just kind of explain what I just said, because I know that might be some military talk. When you're driving down the road and you get ambushed, and you start taking fire. The X is where you're receiving that fire. You're now on the X, as they call it. Well, in training, you've been told constantly to react to ambush or react to contact is to stop, assess the situation, and then put a maneuvering element on that ambush site, clear through, and kill them. I mean, that is what you've always been taught. And somehow in combat, we now created this tactic, and I know what they're going to say. It's because of IEDs. We created this tactic that if you get shot at, the first thing you're supposed to do is push off the X and drive as fast as possible, as far away as possible. And basically what we taught our enemy is if you shoot at us, we will run as fast as possible and nothing's going to happen to you. And I just think that's a bad tactic. Instead of stopping, facing the enemy and making them pay the price and having fewer enemy because of that, we emboldened our enemy, and they lived to see another day and ambush another convoy. And I never liked that tactic, and we didn't employ that tactic. And people are going to tell me, because they're planning out of fear, and it's, well, if you did that, they just put an IED there and you would die. Well, I'm still here, and there's a lot of bad guys that aren't here because I did the tactics we were supposed to do.
When did that change?
I think that changed early on in the war when IEDs became prevalent around '04, maybe '05 is when that changed.
In hostage rescue, the team may have to accept terrible risk to save one person. How do you make peace with that before the door opens?
That is a good question, because a lot of people see the movies, and it's just the movies. They either the good guys always win, or you don't really have to see what happens, at the funerals, or you know you don't have that connection with the guy who just got shot, and unless it's real life. Hostage rescue combat is bad tactics. It is not, well, it's bad for us, the assaulters, because our tactics aren't for us. The tactics are for the hostage. The tactics are to ensure the hostage has the absolute highest rate of being rescued and mission success. That's how we describe mission success. It doesn't matter if half of the guys got shot up. If we still saved the hostage, that was a successful mission. So you take a lot of risk doing hostage rescue, CQB, and the mentality before that is tough, because they've taught you in training the whole time, someone's going to get shot. Just accept it. The variable is, where are they going to get shot? Hopefully it's in a place that they live, but somebody's getting shot. And so the only really two variables is where are they getting shot and how many people are getting shot. But the good news is you're prepared for that. They tell you, you've been told for years in training, like, accept this. And so when it happens in real life, it's not something that you're just now realizing. You've come to terms with this a long time ago, and really you deal with it because for two reasons. One, because the hostage is counting on you, and you signed up for this. So it's too late. You signed up for this. You've been told how dangerous it is the whole time. And so just now that it's time to do it, there's no backing out. You raised your hand, and you wanted this, and now you have to do it for your country. So you can't embarrass your country. But as much love as I had for my country, and as much as I wanted to bring a hostage home, the love for your brothers and your teammates is bigger than anything. And if they're going to go, then I'm going to go. And I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure every single one of them come home, and they're going to do the same thing. And that's why you go.
What is the hardest truth to tell a young operator who wants the glory but has not paid the price yet?
The hardest truth to tell a young operator is that this job is going to take everything from you. It's going to take and take and take, and you're going to gladly give and give and give, and you'll think it's worth it. And guess what? It is worth it. But there's no way to really make a young operator understand by the end of his career what he's signing up for and what he's accepting, and he's willingly accepting this, but you don't really know until you live it what TBIs do to you. You don't know until you live it what a fair amount of people in the Delta Force are going to get shot or hurt in combat at some point. And when that happens, what that's going to do to you then and for the rest of your life. Most people, a young operator doesn't really know physically the toll that it's going to take for the rest of your life. Even though guys tried to tell me, but you, as a young man, you just brush it off. And you're like, that's okay. This is my dream. This is what I came here for. It's really hard to get them to understand that. There's really nothing you can do different. There's the training has to be as hard as it is because we're a no fail mission. We cannot fail. And so there's really no way around it except to try to let people understand this is going to happen. So when it happens, just like that hostage rescue situation. So when it happens, you're like, okay, I understand this now. They've been telling me. I'm not blindsided by it. I accept it. I just didn't know. I just didn't know how bad it was going to be until you get across that finish line.
Do you think all the stuff that you know now about your own journey, if you go back, you would do it all over again? If you were the young operator?
In a heartbeat. I miss it every day, just to some degree. I mean, I wouldn't say I don't live in the past, but there's not a day that goes by for a moment I don't think about getting on a helicopter in the middle of the night or see something in the news and think, hey, I should probably go. I used to go pack my bags when I saw things on the news like this. So yeah, it's because at the end of the day, as hard as it was, and I had some really good days, I had some really bad days. I'll deal with things physically for the rest of my life, but I also get to live the rest of my life knowing that being proud of what I did, what I accomplished, that that I was a man that stood up to evil all around this world, and no one can ever take that away from me. I don't have anything to prove to anyone, and I get to live the rest of my life like that. I don't think many men can.
Even knowing the cost, you said you would do it again. You have spent a lot of time challenging public stories from other veterans. When did you realize that telling the truth as you saw it was going to cost you personally?
I always knew that it was that telling the truth, um, and and real quick, let me back up and explain, I guess, the parameters that I used uh, to call out other veterans, which was this. It's not a veteran issue. It's a people issue. People exaggerate. People lie. It's not. And who am I to say, hey, this exaggeration is okay, but this exaggeration is too big. Um, but I ended up landing on this is if you lied to the American public for personal gain and financial gain, I think that crosses the line of integrity. I think that is a disservice to the uniform. The American public still respects the military. It may be one of the last bastions of this country that gets almost blind respect. And if we don't protect that as veterans, we're going to lose that too. And if we do lose it, it was because of us. We let that happen. So that's where I set the line. If you lied to the American people for fame and fortune, that's too much. And when I did that, I always knew there would be a chance of repercussions, and it weighed heavily on me. It did. There was a part of me that thought, why even expose these people as liars? It's not like the American people that they're happy about the lie. You know, they're not upset at the story, and if they want to think that Tim Kennedy and Rob O'Neill, or put, whatever the next name is, there, did these things, and they want to put them on a pedestal, maybe it's a good thing that they have American heroes, even if their story isn't true. So I went back and forth with it a lot, but at the end of the day, I think integrity matters, and if we don't stop it somewhere, it will get worse, and it will get worse, and we will lose the respect of this country. And so that was the decision I made, regardless of the negative that comes from this. I'll stand on integrity, and I'll just take the punches.
I know this is a personal question, so you don't have to answer if you don't want. But a guy like Tim Kennedy was like pretty outspoken, has pretty big notoriety, and then ends up doing that. Like, do you forgive him as somebody who's kind of, you've been through it and actually lived through it? Do you forgive somebody like that, or is that like a scarlet letter?
So I'm a Christian, and if you ask for forgiveness, I will, whether I want to or not. It's kind of not up to me. I will. I'm commanded to forgive you, and so I will. And at the end of those episodes, that's what I said. I said, hey, at the end of the day, I'm not perfect. I've lied. I've said things I wish I didn't say. Just thankfully, it didn't snowball to that point. Um, I said, and I'm sure all those guys, to some degree, I'm sure there are times they look back and they're like, this isn't where this got out of control. This isn't where I wanted it to be, but it's here. I sure there's a part of them that are more than happy to keep receiving paychecks based off of a lie, but they're still good men deep down, and it bugs them, and I know it does. So I told him at the end of every episode that I did. I said, hey, like I get it, and but you don't have to live with this fear anymore of being exposed. It's the truth is out there. You don't have to live this fear anymore of living a lie. Just come out and say, hey, I'm sorry, uh, and just do things different. Start over again on a solid foundation of integrity and truth, and we will welcome you back to the community. I'll fly out there and go have a beer with you and give you a big hug and be the first one to support you. Just unfortunately, none of them did. They all doubled down on their lies, and to some degree, I get it. They have a lot to lose by coming clean, and I think it's just too big of an ask for them. And I think they think they can just eventually lie their way out of it, but the truth always wins.
When people say you are protecting the truth and other people say you are creating drama, which part of that criticism do you take seriously?
Oh man, I wish I could sit here and tell you a really cool saying like lions don't care about the opinion of sheep, and I don't read the comments and I just go forward. But I do. I see the comments. I see the comments of people saying this guy's just tearing down other veterans in order to prop himself up. And I've I've proven every allegation I've ever made. Um, and ironically enough, in the military, all of those allegations aren't even debated in the special operations community because it's a small community. We all knew the truth. It's only the civilians that heard these lies and they put these guys up on pedestals, and now they refuse to accept that their hero lied to them. And again, I get that. Like, it's not, I don't think that's easy to have that torn down right in front of your eyes. So I don't know where we got to in this world where we dislike the messenger more than the guy who's lying about it. I don't know if that makes sense. In a weird way, a lot of people, and I wouldn't say a lot, but even some people, or even most people, they don't accuse me of being wrong, because if they're connected to this community, they know I'm right. What they're more upset about is that I tore down another veteran. They're mad at me about that, when they should be mad at the veteran who lied to the American public for fame and fortune. And it's just, it boggles my mind, but it happens all the time.
You built a public platform about accountability. What is something in your own public life that other people would be fair to question?
They'd be fair to question me as a man, or I don't want to say to some degree. Don't put me up on a pedestal on a pedestal as an infallible man. I will do my best, not to make any major mistakes, but I'm still fallible. I tell people on my podcast all the time, I'm like, hey, my podcast is called the Tier 1 Podcast. It's not because I was a Tier 1 operator. It's because I want to build a Tier 1 community. I want you to be a Tier 1 father. I want you to be a Tier 1 husband. I want you to be a Tier 1 employer. I want you to be a Tier 1 employee, a Tier 1 friend. Everything in your life, I want you to be Tier 1 at. And when you say those things publicly, and I have a Patreon community where we come together and we hold each other accountable. That sounds really good, and it sounds real motivating until you're the head of that, and then you look at every aspect of your life, which happened just a month ago. I'm like, I'm not in the shape that I should be in, and so I started getting back in shape. But it is, again, you realize when you're kind of the mouthpiece of that, of what a high bar that is to be Tier 1, or to try to be Tier 1 at everything in your life. So do I do that? No, I don't think anyone can. Should you strive to do that? Yeah, I think you should.
Is there a thing that, I mean, maybe it's kind of back to the last question a little bit, but is there a thing in your life that you feel like is the most maybe misunderstood? Like a criticism you get, or a judgment that you get from other people that seems consistent, but it's whatever, off base?
That, to me, that's probably the biggest one. Is he just wants to tear down other veterans to make himself famous, and that one really gets me, because they have no idea who I am. They've clearly never watched a whole episode, and with social media, it's really dangerous, because what most people might see of you and get of you is a 30 to 45-second clip on Instagram or TikTok, or a YouTube short. And they heard me say something definitively in a small segment, and they think they know who I am, without ever watching my episodes to really learn. And so I think those allegations, I won't say they hurt the most, but they bother me. But like anything else, I just use it for motivation. I use it for motivation to ensure that I do things right, and I never lose focus, and never turn those allegations into truth. And that's on me. I can control that.
You have called out other veterans when you thought their stories were not true. Now, your comments about what really happened in the room during the bin Laden raid have led to a lawsuit. Has that changed how you think about accountability and accusation?
No, that doesn't change the way I thought about it, or think about it. I always knew that was a possibility, Um, Although I thought it was a low possibility because, I wouldn't say what I said if I didn't know 100% it was the truth. And I'm not talking one guy that was on the mission told me this, and now it's one guy's story versus another guy's story. We'll just talk about the Rob O'Neill one specifically. I've talked to multiple people that were on that mission, and every single person had the same story, except one person. And that one person happened to write a book and then go out on public speaking fees for tens and tens and tens of thousands of dollars. He is the only one with a different story. So I knew what I said was true. So the only reason why I'm a little bit still surprised, even though I always thought it was a possibility, is that I know what's true, and that's a bold maneuver to sue me, because now, without suing me, it would always be, I guess, my word against his. But if you're going to sue me over it, all those people that were there that didn't want to be public, well, now they're going to be dragged into it. And now they're going to say with their hand on the Bible in court the truth. And so my best guess is that he knows it's a defamation case, which is very, very, very hard to get on a public figure. Um, my guess is he knows it'll never go to court. And so at least he can say, hey, I tried to sue him, but they wouldn't let it go to court, because the worst thing that could happen to Rob O'Neill is this thing go to court, and then I'll be proven right. I'm not concerned about it one bit.
Beyond the legal risk, is there any part of that situation that you think is misunderstood? Is there anything you wish you could do differently?
I really have to think about that. And of course, I have thought about that. I don't know what I would have done differently. I know what people say that they wish I would have done differently, but I disagree with that. Some people say, hey, this should have been handled man to man. Like this shouldn't have been handled out in the court of public opinion. And I do get that. And this is my rebuttal to that. If that's what people think I should have done differently, the reason I didn't do it like that is, if these guys would have been telling stories in private, then I would have gone to them in private and told them, hey, don't do that. But they're the ones who chose to make these lies public. And so now that it's up for public discussion, they're the ones who made it a public discussion. And so my rebuttal is in public. So they're the ones who chose to drag this topic out in public, and they're at fault for that. Again, it kind of goes back to the argument of that they're mad at me instead of the person who started the lie. I don't understand why people are more mad at me for not keeping this private, when the same argument should be, well, I should have never had to do a public exposing of episode, because they should have had the integrity to never lie about it in public. So I'll never understand why people are mad at me. I say people, it's not a lot. It really isn't. It was at the beginning. Like when I did some of these episodes, the beginning of it was, I think, shocking to people. But then more veteran podcasters and more of the veteran community came in and supported me. And they're like, hey, he's actually right. He's the only one who's had the guts to say it in public for the first time, but he's right. And that public opinion has really changed to almost all positive. And that was really good to see. I did get a lot of hate at the beginning of all this, and to see again, the truth matters, and the truth always comes out, and to see that public shift go from he's a hater to actually, yeah, he was right the whole time. And again, I couldn't have done that by myself. That was thanks to the veteran community that came in and had my back and supported me. And I'll always be grateful to those guys for doing that because they didn't have to.
You left the Anti-Hero podcast and started Tier 1. What did you want to preserve from the old show, and what did you want Tier 1 to become?
I didn't really leave the Anti-Hero podcast to do things differently. Now, I haven't really had to do an exposing podcast on my new platform, because the good news is it wasn't really that many veterans that were doing it. It's just that the few that were pretty big, and so it definitely rocked the veteran space when I did that. So, in some aspects, I also look at that as that's the bright side. We don't really have a problem, a widespread problem with veterans doing that. It's a few, but again, if we don't stop it early on, it will get more and more and more and more. So I will absolutely do it again if I have to. But the truth is, I don't want the clicks and views from exposing another veteran, because that means we have another bad apple in the veteran community. I would much rather do what I've been doing, and really what I can't remember the episode numbers off the top of my head, but we did over 100 episodes. 95 of those episodes were positive stories of other veterans and first responders telling the truth. Of course, it's drama that gets the clicks and the views and a little bit of the notoriety. So,
Of course.
right. So, yeah, I think I'm on episode 32 right now, and it's all been positive stories, which is just like my last podcast. And again, just like my last podcast, if I have to, I will. People do bring cases to me all the time because I am kind of known as the guy who will stand for the truth. But I don't take most of them, again, even if they are true, if they don't meet a certain threshold, if they're not big enough, then we will look petty as a veteran community. So I really want to stay away from looking petty, but at the same time, I'll do it again if I have to.
That same focus on service also shaped your businesses. You started First Responder Coffee after seeing first responders pay for equipment and training themselves. What was the first moment when you thought, this is exactly why we built this?
That's an easy one. I was training a SWAT team in Florida, and I got a call a few weeks later and said, "Hey, we came across this scenario, and we changed our tactics based off of what you showed us, and I'm not sure if we'd have had the same results without that." And we came out on top that day in a bad situation. And just want to let you know, like, the things you teach us, like we applied, and we're a better team because of it. And just to think that there's some SWAT guys around this country that are still alive, or at least not shot because they got Tier 1 training, is the coolest thing. It really is.
Yeah, it's got to be a pretty good feeling.
Especially after being shot. I know what it feels like. I know that you'll never, even if you survive it, you'll never be the same person. So to hear things like that has just been, it's the coolest part of my job.
Helping others gave the business meaning, but growth brought risk. Across war, first responder training, business, media, and lawsuits, what kind of success has been the most dangerous for you?
That's an interesting way to word it. What type of success has been the most dangerous? It's an odd answer, and it'll get a little more on the business side of things. But FRCC started slow, and I put my life savings into starting that business in order to to both support first responders, but also I wanted to build a profitable business that I can hand down to my kids. So it's not a nonprofit, um, although it has been to me for the last 4 years, because I haven't taken a dime from it, even though we have, but our employers are getting paid, just not me yet. Um, but as the company grew, and it's grown every year, I don't think people understand that when a business grows, that there's even times it costs you money when a business grows. Um, we're growing by 20 and 30% every year, but that 20 and 30% is 20 and 30% more products that we have to have. That's a third more employees we have to have. And so almost every year, not only do I make money, I have to keep on putting money into it because it grows. And so the success of that feels dangerous because the business is growing and I keep losing money. I know it's a weird answer to give on a topic of business, but if anyone's a business owner out there or is looking to start a business, there is a time that once it gets successful, it starts costing you money. Now, of course, in the long run, it's going to come back, but can you survive it while it's successful? That's a weird thing to think about. I don't think I would have ever completely understood that until I lived it.
I have found a lot of stability in my own life through faith in Jesus, and I am always interested in how others think about it. Has faith, in whatever form it takes for you, helped you carry something that toughness could not fix?
Let me tell you, I can I can sit there and tell you that I'm really glad you asked that question because it actually allows me to refocus my answer a little bit. Business is stressful. Not only do I have FRCC, I'm part owner in Human Performance TRT. Trying to start two businesses almost simultaneously and having employees is stressful. Having a podcast that's we've covered, that is at times controversial, and I've had a lot of supporters, and I have my fair share of haters, and that, like I said, that weighs on me to some degree. Um, I said that I take everything and I just internalize it, whether it be the negative things, and I carry it and I move on. I couldn't do that without my faith in the Bible and my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. There's absolutely no way. I don't get that strength by myself. Um, I have that strength by turning everything over to God and saying, "Hey, this is whatever you give me. I can deal with it because I have you." Um, there's just I don't know if I could deal with things the way that I dealt with them if if I didn't think that God was in control of everything and then completely believe that and hand it over to Him. And once you do that, life gets, I wouldn't say life gets pretty easy. It's still life, but life gets easier.
Before we close, I always ask our guests to brag about their family for a minute. Brent, please go ahead.
I got three girls. I got four kids total, three girls and a little boy. And uh, my girls are rock stars on the volleyball court. It's amazing to watch. Um, and they're funny. Uh, it's really cool to watch them grow up. My son's the same way. Uh, my son suffers from the same thing that I suffered from as a young man, and he's a little bit shorter than everybody else, but he's super athletic, just like me. And he has to now get told the same thing I hated being told: is this is going to this is good character development. This is going to build you up for later. And it's true. And so it's really cool watching them. My oldest is 16 now. My twin girls are 13. My boy's 11. Just to watch them slowly turn into young adults that are good people and that are going to be a benefit to society and not a hindrance. And I can't wait to see what they do next.
Now on to our final word segment, where we ask our guests a few rapid-fire questions. What was the happiest moment in your life?
Being selected by the Delta Force.
What is the biggest adversity you've faced?
Getting shot and hit by a grenade within 10 seconds of each other.
I guess that counts.
What are you most excited about?
My businesses. I think we're at a turning point, and we got through the hard times, and there's a big light at the end of those tunnels. So if I keep hustling, I'm really excited to see what comes from those.
What advice would you give your younger self?
That's always a tough question, because the problem is this: all the things I did wrong ended up making me a better person in the end. So I don't know if I would interfere with the process. I think God knew what He was doing, and everything worked out the way they were supposed to.
Do you have any book recommendations for us or for the listeners?
Gates of Fire.
The name of our podcast is Nothing Left Unsaid. Do you have anything you want to say?
It's not completely left unsaid, but I think it warrants saying twice that I got through some really hard times in my life, and guess what? There's hard times in the future. There's only one way to truly get through them and have peace in your life, and that's through accepting Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. So if you're going through tough times, or you're about to, and you feel like you've tried everything else, well, maybe you haven't applied the right medicine.
All right, now this is the real last question, then we'll let you go. At the
Okay.
end of every podcast, I ask all our guests, now that you got to know us a little bit and the podcast, who are some people that you know personally that you think we should have on to tell their story?
Oh, that's a good one. Jimmy Watson is a great guest. Former Navy SEAL, but just a great redemption story. Tyler Kavanaugh is another good one. Another Navy SEAL kind of redemption story. Mike Edwards. I just had Mike Edwards on the show. He was a former Ranger, just a good storyteller, and has a great story to tell. Those are three right off the top of my head.
Brent, thank you for joining us. Your story raises difficult questions about service, injury, loyalty, truth, and what happens when a person has to rebuild his life after years of carrying responsibility under pressure. Whether people know you from the military world, the first responder community, or the conversations around accountability in veteran media, these are not simple issues. We appreciate your time and your willingness to engage them directly. May God bless you and your family.
Thank you, Tim and Troy, so much for having me on. And Tim, I just have to tell you, you're a true inspiration to others. I think what you're doing and continuing to do, and the way you're able to do it, it's amazing, and I'm in awe of it, and I'm honored to come on your show.
Thank you, and thank you for your service too. I don't want to end without saying that. Really appreciate it.